YouTube sports fans, how are you doing today? My name is George, and what we're doing today is just talking about weekly recap in the NFL. I missed week one. I don't want to miss any more weeks, but it'll be a fun thing to track how each team is doing as the season goes on. I do want to thank all you guys for the support on the daily power ranking shorts we had leading up to the season. The support on that was incredible as I got over 25,000 views on that, and I was hoping if I could just get 1K views, that would be a good start for me. So I was very overwhelmed with all the support for that, and it really pushed me to keep going and make consistent content for you guys. But with that being said, let's not waste any more time and let's get into it. Packers Commanders. I was really excited for this game leading up to it. This game was weeks ago now at this point, but needless to say, the Packers look like Super Bowl contenders with the addition of Micah Parsons. I think a lot of teams are kind of struggling to game plan for this defense. I know the Lions definitely did, considering you game plan for your week one matchup weeks, maybe even a month in advance. And then Micah Parsons gets thrown onto the team a week before the game. So I'm sure that was tough for them. They made this Commanders team look pretty vulnerable on the offense, which we expect the Commanders to be really good on offense this year. So that was impressive. But I would be very surprised if this team doesn't continue to look like a top defense, as this might be even the best defense in the NFL. Jaden Daniels did get a little banged up in this one, but it sounds like he's going to be okay. And I'm not too worried about this Commanders team going forward. No surprise here for Browns Ravens. The Ravens blew out the Browns at home. Lamar Jackson looks like a guy that's going to be in the MVP conversation again. Derrick Henry kind of struggled this game, also didn't get the ball a ton. That was a little weird, but the fact that this offense still dropped 41 points tells you all you need to know about this team. Cleveland, they have a very tough schedule to open the year. It's very possible that the Cleveland Browns open the year 0-6. Quinshon Judkins did get started in this game, so maybe he'll get more and more snaps and take over that backfield for you fantasy players out there, but there's not much to talk about with this one either. Jags, Bengals, a lot of hype for a potential shootout going into this one, and although it was a pretty high-scoring game, nobody could have told me that Joe Burrow was going to get turf toe in this game, and that is going to hurt this Bengals team. A lot of people are kind of saying their season's over. I think that's a bit of an overreaction. We saw Jamar Chase still play well even without him. It looks like he's going to be out until early mid-December, which definitely hurts. But you are 2-0, so if you can at least go 500 before he gets back, you still have a shot at making the playoffs in an AFC that's just not quite as competitive as the NFC conference. The Jaguars, Brian Thomas looked really bad in this game. I don't expect that to be a weekly thing. The offense looks pretty good. The run game with ETN and Baishel Tutin looks like something that could be effective for them going forward. But the biggest takeaway here is the injury to Joe Burrow, and hopefully he'll be back so they can make a playoff push later in the season. Giants, Cowboys, man, this might have been game of the week, and I don't think a lot of people saw this one coming. The Giants offense looked absolutely abysmal week one, which wasn't that big of a surprise, but week two in that fourth quarter, the Cowboys had no business even being in an overtime game with the Giants. They had this game, it felt like on the wraps, and then out of nowhere, Malik Neighbors, Russell Wilson, Wan'Dale Robinson just take this game over. Cam Scatterbo had some good moments, and it really looked like the Giants were going to win this game, but when you have probably the best kicker in the NFL on the other side of Brandon Aubrey, just drilling a kick from 65, might even been good from 70 yards out. He's a real weapon for that team. The Cowboys offense looks good. Brian Schottenheimer was a guy I came down really hard on, pause, to start the season. I did not think he was going to be a good coach in this league. So far, it looks like this team is really well prepared, both offensively and somewhat defensively. So that's a nice surprise for the Cowboys post Micah Parsons trade. And I'm excited to watch them going forward, as I think Dak's playing really good football and their offense is capable of being effective. Javonte Williams has looked great as well for the Giants. I thought we were going to see Jackson Dart really soon. At this point, I think Russell Wilson just bought him some time, at least a month of being the Giants quarterback. Bears, Lions, I had this one as one of my biggest watches going into this week, just because the potential of the Detroit Lions going into an 0-2 hole, but that did not happen at all. People were kind of concerned going into this game that Ben Johnson had a lot to do with the success of the Lions offense. And although I do think that's true to an extent, there's just so much talent on this Lions team, and that really showed today as they hung 52 points on the Chicago Bears. The Bears defense has some questions to be answered. Caleb Williams is looking a little Caleb Williams has looked a little shaky. I still think he'll pull it together. Roma Dunze does look very good, though. I'm not worried about the ability to stop the run either. But with the Lions, I think this silences a lot of doubt about what the Lions offense will be this year. Amon Ra was incredible. Jameson Williams had some big plays. The backfield of Gibbs and Montgomery continues to be one of the best. And at this point, I think all the Lions' concerns have been silenced for the time being. Patriots Dolphins. This was a pretty good game to watch. People had the Dolphins favored at home because Tua has never lost to New England. I don't want to talk too much about the Dolphins because I'm planning on making a video about them very soon, but the vibes are bad on this team. You can make the case they could have and maybe even should have won this game with HN not stepping out of bounds, but you caught a break with a punt return touchdown and you gave up a kick return touchdown. Drake May kind of diced up your defense. The defense looks horrible right now. I know a lot of people are giving Tua flack, but the defense has been one of, if not the very worst in the league. New England avoids going 0-2. I do think they are a team that has a chance of making the playoffs, and they keep that chance alive with this win. Travion Henderson's starting off a little slow. Ramondre looked decent in this game. I'd really like to see Travion Henderson get going, but for the time being, they're 1-1. Niners, Saints. I can't lie, I barely watched this game. I wasn't too intrigued with it. I think the Saints are one of, if not the worst teams in the league. I've been pretty clear about that. And the Niners, no Mac Jones, tons of injuries on this team. I don't think Mac Jones played that well, but his stats do look good. CMC still looks like one of the top backs in the league for the Saints. It's more of what I expect, although I will say Spencer Rattler doesn't look as bad as many people thought he would. Justin Fields had a sensational game week 1, even though they fell to the Steelers ultimately. The Bills, Josh Allen didn't have a great game. He really didn't need to. James Cook ran all over this team. I don't really understand what the Bills are doing with their receivers. They're kind of a receiver by committee, so that's a little weird and interesting. But this Bills team's one of the best in the league, so they'll figure it out. Seahawks Steelers. I try not to overreact this early in the season, but this Steelers defense looks like it's taken a drastic step back, and that is a big concern. This team basically is all in on winning a Super Bowl, right? Like, you have Aaron Rodgers for a year. You traded for a bunch of veteran talent on this defense, signed them pretty good contracts too. So you're trying to win as soon as possible. They've been a wild card team for years. They haven't been able to get over that wild card spot. And if this defense is not what we thought it would be, which is a top 5, maybe even a top 3 defense in the league, it could get really ugly for this team. Rodgers has looked solid so far. DK Metcalf could be a good weapon for them. Caleb Johnson, the rookie, made a drastic mistake in this game. If you haven't seen it, look that up on that kick return. He might not see the field for a little while. As for Seattle, the defense is about what we thought it would be. It's going to be a really good unit. Sam Darnold, has his good moments, has his bad moments. Kenneth Walker stepped in for Zach Charbonnet, who had a pretty bad game, even though he took the lead in the backfield week 1. JSN and Sam Darnold have a great connection already. Torrey Horton caught a touchdown. This Seahawks team is a really interesting one, as they're kind of hard to determine how good they're going to be. Rams, Titans, the final score might not say it, but the Titans were competing with this Rams team, which, as a guy who likes to watch Cam Ward, I'm a big Hurricanes fan. That's really fun for me. I think this Rams team looked great. Puka Nacua looks like he may be one of, if not the best receiver in the NFL this season. Devontae Adams really got going this game as well. Kyron Williams is still there on the ground. The defense played pretty well, although this Titans offense has been struggling to get going. The touchdown pass that Cam Ward threw across his body, across the end zone, basically was incredible. This Titans defense looks really good. Their run game is great with Tavondre Sweat and Jeff Simmons up the middle. L'Jarius Sneed's done pretty good on the outside, but this defense looks like a very formidable unit, and I expect this Tennessee team to be in a lot of games going forward. Panthers, Cardinals. This was another game similar to like the Giants-Cowboys game, where the team that ultimately came back and made it interesting had no business being in this game. Arizona really outplayed the Panthers early on. They looked dominating on defense with that sack fumble for a touchdown on Bryce Young, who's been struggling at this point. Tech McMillan looks like a good player for the Panthers, so that's a bright side. Chuba Hubbard's still contributing as well. This is a team going into the year where we thought if we got what Bryce Young was playing like late last season, this team could make a playoff run. We have not gotten this Bryce Young so far, and it looks like they're going to be back towards the bottom of the league. As for the Cardinals, the defense does look improved. The offense, I have some questions with Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a really good player, but this connection just isn't working so far. It is a kind of a weird fit between the two players. Trey McBride's obviously a beast. The run game still looks good with James Conner and Trey Benson, even though Benson's kind of creeping into James Conner's snap total. I'm not too worried about this Cardinals team. I think they're going to be in playoff contention for most of the season, but their offense, I did expect to be a little better at this point in the season, especially given the matchups with the Carolina Panthers and the New Orleans Saints. They play the Niners next week, so I guess that's their first real test. Broncos Colts, this is the game I had my eye on the most because the Broncos defense is what we think is a top five, maybe even a top three defensive unit in the league. And the Colts just absolutely hammered the Dolphins week one with an offense that looked dominating. And this offense still looked really good in Indianapolis in week two. Pat Surtain got injured for the Broncos. Obviously, that hurts. He was still came back and played, which I don't really understand. He clearly was playing hurt, and you drafted Jahdae Barron, and you might as well just give him more snaps and let Pat Surtain just have the game off, honestly. The offense for Denver, Bo Nix looked a lot better. He had a really bad week one, but got it together this week. Troy Franklin's looking like a guy that could really contribute for this team going forward. Sutton was pretty quiet, but he has his moments every year where he's kind of in and out of the game. J.K. Dobbins looked all right too. But the Colts, man, Jonathan Taylor ran all over this Broncos defense. Daniel Jones threw the ball well, didn't turn the ball over. This Colts team scores points almost every time they're on the field. This team, I don't think they're going to make a Super Bowl run or anything like that, but they look for real, and I expect them to get in playoff contention. Eagles Chiefs, another good game. I think a lot of people thought this would be a close game, but nobody really picked the Chiefs to win this, and I felt the same way. The Chiefs definitely had their moments that they could have won this game. Pat Mahomes missed Tyquan Thornton on a deep ball, which is something we rarely see. The team just feels a little off right now. Travis Kelce was, crashing out after fumbling the ball. The run defense is still spectacular for this Chiefs team. I'm not going to overreact and say the Chiefs are going to miss the playoffs, right? But I definitely wouldn't have them as like a top Super Bowl contender right now. But that could change later in the year. We're going to get Rashee Rice back. Obviously, for the Eagles, we know what they are. They're a great team. Their defense is good. They're well coached. AJ Brown's been really quiet to start the season. I think at some point he'll get going. Jalen Hurts really didn't have to do anything in this win, which, as he said, talking trash to Chris Jones, still won the game. So at that point, yeah, who cares, right? Vikings, Falcons. I was a little bored watching this Sunday night game. I'm not going to lie. I don't mind watching good defense, but it just felt like, young quarterback play. The Falcons defense does look drastically improved, though. The rookie additions of James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker are really making a difference already in that front seven. We know the offense has great potential with Bijan Robinson, one of the best backs in the league. Kyle Pitts, if he can ever take another step, and Drake London as well. So the Falcons look like a team that could be in that mix. The Vikings really have on the same tier, even though J.J. McCarthy really hasn't played good football outside of the fourth quarter against the Bears. He's young. They also didn't play him at all in the preseason, which I thought was weird. Obviously, looking at it now, it looked like he could really use that time. He's going to be out this coming game against the Bengals, so that should be an interesting matchup. The Vikings, I had just barely making the playoffs. I still think they're on track to be around that tier, but maybe the Falcons take their spot at this point. The two Monday night games, Bucks-Texans was a great game. Rashad White ran the ball into the end zone to win this game for the Bucks. Baker Mayfield led them on a drive where he looked really good on that game-winning drive, and he's had a lot of those in the last couple seasons. Emeka Egbuka still looks great. Mike Evans looks great. This team is going to get Chris Godwin back here pretty soon. The defense, Kalijah Kancey got hurt, and it sounds like he is out for season. That's a big loss for this team. If there's any concern I have with that team, it's their pass rush. And losing Kalijah Kancey, a good pass rushing tackle, kind of hurts them. But this Bucks team looks like a team that can contend for the Super Bowl this year. The Texans, I still think the defense is great, but we have the same concerns with Texans. It looks like they have the worst offensive line in the league. Nico Collins made an incredible play in this game, but this team needs Joe Mixon back, and they need to see improvement from this offensive line if they're going to be taking that next step. Last is the Chargers, Raiders. Chargers are a really interesting team this year. They were a very run heavy team last year, and this year they just haven't been. And they did lose Rashawn Slater, but this line is giving Justin Herbert so much time in the pass game. He's hitting guys when they're open, like Quentin Johnston, Lad McConkey. Keenan Allen's been great since his return. So that's really intriguing for this team. The defense is very well coached. Guys making plays like Davion Henley, Derwin James is still there as well. Khalil Mack got hurt in a really ugly looking injury. Hopefully he'll be back at some point this season for this team, but this Chargers team looks like they could win this division despite a run game that's been really non-effective so far, but I think that will change. And the Raiders, man, Gino looked great week 1. He looked really bad this week. I think that'll get going. Ashton Genty looks really good. I know if you look at the stats that it's not that great, but he's breaking tackles. He's doing his part. Eventually, these runs are going to break into big gains, and he's going to really take over the offense for this team. Brock Bowers hasn't done too much this season, but he's been hurt. I still think he played through an injury in this game. The Raiders are ultimately a team that I think can compete with a lot of teams, but I don't think they'll win a lot of games this year. And that is my recap of the Week 2 NFL season. Appreciate you watching the video and tuning in. Let me know what you think about your team in the comments. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.